Hi everyone, just call me Noon, Heal the Tree Fall here, and we have a guest on today because we're doing a little bit of a chat, a fireside chat if you like. We're going to explain that in a second. First we're going to go through some disclaimers. So this is being recorded for entertainment purposes only. We're not lawyers, we don't give legal advice. We're not doctors, we don't give medical advice, and please always do your own research. Go and dig into it, have a look for it for yourself. If it resonates, go with it. If it's dissonant, don't. It's really simple. So if we're talking too fast, you'll find somewhere in your settings around about the screen here, you can actually slow us down if we're going too fast for you, or if we're going too slow, you can speed us up. Not a problem, it's at your leisure. And whenever you get to us is when you get to us, and that will be the perfect time for you. So what we're talking about today, well, we're talking about private members associations. And I have with me today the lovely Trina from Empower the People. So, and Trina has a wealth of information on all sorts of things, really, Trina. How are you? So welcome, Trina. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks, Lou. Thanks for having me. Good to talk to you again.
I think it's kind of like the both of us are having each other today, you know. It's like pretty cool. So first of all, you know, jumping straight in, what is a private members association?
It's a club. So it's a club that's not open to the public. Therefore, the regulations are different. Anything that's private is kept in the private. And if you think back to sort of 1920s speakeasies, where you would generally get referrals, so, you know, it wasn't really advertised, but it was passed through word of mouth, through member referrals, and
for people who were interested.
People that are interested. So, you know, and it's generally set up because there are a group of people who have a common interest or purpose in mind. And so they would agree a set of rules, which could be a charter or your constitution, whatever you wanted to call it, and that would be the rules of the club. And if you think about some of the London clubs that go back to the 1800s, some of these men's clubs, artist clubs, whatever clubs, they've been going for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And because it's all in the private, there's a privacy clause when you sign up that you keep it in the private. So, you know, a bit like a funny handshake club or something like that. But it's open to everyone because it's in the private. So anybody can do it.
So, like, you know, kind of just touching on that funny handshake club sort of thing, those can actually be used for a good thing as well as a bad thing. It's determined by private members, I would guess.
Yes. So a lot of the time they have charitable purposes in mind. So the idea is you don't trade within a private members association. You would receive donations, you can offer benefits and privileges, but you would always have, you wouldn't be aiming at making a profit. You can employ, you can buy buildings and things through trustees, of course, but you would have a charitable purpose in mind. So, you know, be feed the homeless or help these artists or whatever was resonating with all of the members that were joining.
Yeah. Okay. So how do, because we were talking about it previously, how do we let's say we've got a business that's called a business at the moment and we want to make it into a private members association, can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, for example, if you had a cafe and you are open to the public, you're open for public scrutiny then, aren't you? Because then you could be regulated, anybody can come onto your premises, etc. If you made your coffee club, if you made it a private members association, you could have on the door private members only, but then underneath have open for new members. Right. But at least then, you know, if the local authorities come, they have no rights to enter the premises at all because it's only open for members or people that are interested in becoming members. Even the police, they're not allowed to enter the premises unless they are chasing a felon. Right. And those are the only rights the police have. So you're pretty much left to operate in the private. You're left alone because you're not interacting with the public.
So those words are really important, aren't they? You know, like the private versus public, and you're not a customer, you're a member, you know, you don't pay, it's a donation. You know, all those sort of things,
Yeah.
they're really, really important. So I guess if anybody wanted to go down that route, whether as a business and
Yeah.
a private members association, or as a customer wanting to be part of a private members association, you've got to learn those words, haven't you?
You have, yeah. So because you don't want to operate in commerce, you don't want to make an income. Otherwise, you know, you're creating taxable events. And with the Private Members Association, as I said, you don't want to make a profit. So, you know, you can sell tickets if you're doing a raffle. Some people would have an event where they would sell tickets for alcohol. Then you're not selling alcohol, therefore the licensing doesn't come into it. You've got as you mentioned, we can have the donations, you can have subscriptions as well. So your membership subscription would be yearly, monthly, lifetime, however you've set it.
Just to interrupt you in that bit, how does one determine like what that membership would be? I mean, what would you expect, say, from like the coffee shop you were talking about? You know, what sort of membership would you expect that to be roughly? You know, would it be £1 every time you go in? Or, you know, would it be £10 for the year? Or, you know, how would that work?
It's totally up to the members, really. There's a private members association that I trade with, although it's not actually trade, that I donate to and I receive benefit from, where she doesn't actually charge anything because it's included within the donation. So there isn't a separate subscription. So if you were a coffee shop, you could say, okay, membership's included with your first cup of coffee, or, you know, if you donate, you get your membership and a cup of coffee as a benefit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's totally up to you. We've even set up one private members association where the member pays £1 for a loyalty card, and that's lifetime membership. And then they get the loyalty card stamped every time. It has the declaration on the back of it. So it makes it really simple. And that way they're going to bring the loyalty card out every time, again, proving their membership, but also they get a stamp and a free coffee every 10 stamps. So it's lots of different ways you can do it because it's private. So it's totally up to you how you want to run it.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the declaration, is that something that they have to have?
Yes. So as a member, you need to know that you are a member of a private members club. So there'd be like a notice up somewhere stating that it is a private members club. You could even have your charitable aims and objectives up as well, so that everybody who's coming onto the premises who is interested in becoming a member knows where the donations are going to. And if you know, they don't necessarily have to sign anything, they could give an email address, just as long as the secretary of the Private Members Association has a way of contacting them. So it's not really much different than like a loyalty scheme or a mailing list.
So that's actually more privacy on your own data as well then, isn't it?
It's what, sorry?
You've got more privacy on your own data then.
Absolutely. Well, that's private is the key, and that's one of the things I'd have to sign up to is the fact that it's remaining private. So, you know, you don't go and give the information out everywhere. Sure, tell your friends, refer, etc., if need be, but you wouldn't go to the local authority and say, oh, these people are operating as a private members club. You know, it's there to benefit the membership and to the local community, whatever, depending on what their aims are.
In Scotland, somebody who goes and does that, we call a clipe.
A clipe.
A clipe. It's a telltale.
Yeah.
They're cliping on you. So right, okay. So it's great if it's your local sort of area, but what if you're traveling? Say like I come down to where you are, and I want to really do things with just private members associations if I can.
Yeah.
Can I then join even though I'm out of area, if you like?
Yeah, absolutely. There's, you know, we've set up a private members association which encompasses the whole world. You know, there's no borders. Remember, borders are public, aren't they? They're set by the establishment. So, you know, when we're taking ourselves out of that system, then the world's your oyster, isn't it?
Yeah. So what about franchises? Can they set up a PMA?
They'd have to, I think, yeah, they would have to speak to, because they're going to be in contract, aren't they? Yeah. So it's going to be difficult for them. And
I was thinking about some big brand names that I can think of off the top of my head that everybody or a lot of people use for one reason or another. Sometimes it's because it's the only one in a town.
Yeah.
Knocked out so many independents. you know, and I wondered whether they could actually do that.
Yeah, I really wouldn't imagine that they could, because I can imagine the franchises want the brand out there, don't they? They're going to have these contracts that they sign, these franchise agreements that they sign, and I would imagine that the way they operate, they're going to want to trade, aren't they? They're not going to want to go through donations and gifts, especially if, you know, the franchisor is taking a percentage of the franchisee's takings.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to want to see the commerce element of it, aren't they?
Franchises tend to have things pretty well sewn up as well, you know. So
yeah, absolutely. But you know, if you've got a really good sort of private members association that's working as a coffee club, then you could like franchise that out, couldn't you? But it would just be different agreement, wouldn't it? It'd be like an umbrella PMA that have sub PMAs everywhere.
This is the bit that I like. It's the way of doing something that everybody already knows, but with a little twist on it, and it makes it far more beneficial for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
definitely.
Yeah, definitely cool. Right, okay. Thinking about that private and public sort of side, can you set up, and I know we had this question a couple of weeks ago, can you set up like a pizza shop where you have one side as being the private, so that's your members association members coming in, and they get a pizza and it's a donation and a gift, or, you know, however you want to put that, and then the other side is public and it's customers that are coming in, and do they then pay more? Is it a higher rate for them to get things, or?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you had like a public side and a private side, then but would it be in the same shop? Because, you know, what's the point of having a private members association if it is? Because if you're open to the public, then you're going to be under scrutiny from all the regulators. Yeah. So it's like, well, why have the PMA then?
Yeah,
because the PMA is to bring the whole energy exchange into the private and take it away from the public element. So it's like, you know, you pick and choose. But saying that, it's useful to have a public element as well. So I would probably say, if you wanted a pizza shop, have a limited company as a pizza shop, and the limited company could be your front, and you could do your insurance and stuff like that, and the PMA could subcontract to the limited company to provide its insurance and, you know, its public front or whatever. So, you know, you could structure it in a way. But with regards to anything that's got a shop front, then I would say pick a side, pick whether you're going to be public or private. I wouldn't have both.
Yeah, I think you know, the shop owners that I've spoken to at the moment, some of them are like really for a PMA, but they've got no clue how to go about it. Because when I was spoken about the benefits to having one and all that sort of thing, and they're also so ingrained in, I have to do it this way because the authorities have said you must do this, you must do that, you must do the next thing, you know, and jump through all these hoops. And if we give you another hoop, you've got to jump through that as well. Yeah. And they're getting tired of it, you know. And I think the customers are getting tired of it as well, because in effect, that's then it price rises for them.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
Harder to live, you know.
Well, I think, you know, a lot of these systems are born out of necessity, aren't they? I mean, yes, okay, they've been around for hundreds of years, but we don't go searching for relief or any sort of remedy until we absolutely are pushed or ground right down by the system. And so that's why so many people during lockdown, they closed their doors and they started operating privately, you know, because then if they're only operating by appointment or they're only operating by click and collect, then, and they don't have their doors open, it's not so easy for the public to walk in. It's not so easy for the local authorities to walk in. Yeah. And it's like, well, okay, so you operated like that during lockdown just so that you could keep a bit of turnover going. But why not continue that now? Because, you know, just because they've released us doesn't mean to say they aren't going to.
That was very diplomatic. Yeah. Like that, yeah. But yeah, it's I mean, taking it from my side of things, you know that I'm writing my own PMA at the moment, and I'm a quantum practitioner, and I have clients across the world, and you know, the vast majority I do it on Zoom and audios and things like that, and by email and phone calls and stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, I've been looking at it, and for me, it's a little bit different to say your shop on the high street that you would see. Most people don't know about me. I don't have a big emblazoned thing. Well, I should say I don't have a big emblazoned thing across me, but I do across my head just now. But yeah, it's that can you advertise in any sort of way being a PMA?
Yeah, of course you can. You can always be open for new members. You can advertise. You can just state that this you're doing this sort of special deal, and you're open for new membership, or membership is open for new members now, or something like that. You can definitely do that. And but the way that you were just speaking, then you say you have continued practicing, you haven't volunteered anything out, because you've always operated in the private, really, haven't you? Because it's nobody else's business. Your business is nobody else's business. And that's part of changing our mindset, is because we've been so conditioned in asking for permission for everything. So as soon as somebody says, right, I'm going to open up a coffee shop, they're right, okay, who do I need to get permission from? What licenses do I need? Who needs to tell me that it's okay for me to trade? And that's the sort of mindset that we've been programmed with. Whereas now it's like, well, okay, we need to switch it now. We need to take power back. We need to say, right, my doors are closed to everybody except those people that I want to come in. And I'm not asking permission for anything, because this is my energy. This is who I want to give it to. And that's exactly what you've been doing all this time. And so what you're doing by setting up a PMA, it's not going to make any difference, really. If you think of churches, a lot of them are PMAs. PMAs are huge in America, and a lot of people run their businesses as a church, even practitioners, yourself, healers, etc. They're running them as actual churches, because the regulations, the licenses, the funds they're having to pay through requesting permission is just ridiculous.
It's prohibitive, really.
It is, absolutely.
I'm listening to some of the shop owners here, and it's like, this is going up, that's going up, and they literally can't afford to keep going.
Yeah.
And I can't fault them. They've had enough.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see them closing. I would like to see a lot of them turning to, say, organic food and sourcing a lot better stuff.
Locally sourced stuff, helping each other out.
This is it. But they're maybe not quite that far. I have it with my local butcher, and I've been here for 19 years, and I still go in and say, are you doing organic mutton yet? It's like, organic, no, mutton, definitely not, so I'm sourcing from somewhere pretty close to here, so I go to them. It's no disrespect to my butcher, and I love my butcher to bits. I think he's absolutely brilliant, but it's that I want to know exactly what I'm putting on my plate, and I know that if I have that, I need to have far less of it. So it's fine. It might not look that way, but it does work. But yeah, it's so on the legal side of things, is there anything you have to do legally to set up a PMA?
Not legally, no, because it's not regulated at all. So as a PMA, you would have a structure in place. So you'd need a minimum of 2 people to set up your PMA, because you'd need to fill 3 roles, but 2 people can fill 2 of them. So you need a secretary, you need a treasurer, and you need a chair. And those are your trustees. So they're the ones that are going to be holding the any property of the PMA, because we'd need a legal fiction. So your trustees can use their legal fiction to open bank accounts, to hold property, to make contracts, etc. So you'd need to have that sort of structure. And then you need your charter or your rules. They can be as simple or as complex as you like, as long as you're covering, the fact that you're going to have an AGM, the type of membership that you want, what do members are allowed to do or not to do. And, if there's like a disciplinary or a grievance route for members as well. And, in case they've got any problems, but it doesn't need to be too complex at all. And
AGMs with a lot of people, AGMs are a bit of a stumbling block, because everybody goes, oh, it's an AGM, and people tend to like to hear their own voice, rather than just get to the point, tell people outright what it is, what do you think, let them make their own minds up, and then vote on it. It's really simple. It's not that hard. You know, I mean, I've run AGMs where it's been half an hour. Other people have taken me nearly 3 days to do it. You know, and it's been ridiculous. And I'm just like, nobody wants to waste energy that way. You know, so it's been energy efficient, if you like. So get on and do the things that we really want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, if it's the case of, you know, if AGMs are starting to get out of hand, if you have a huge membership and you're probably going to have to allow sort of 2 or 3 hours, then you need to have a timed agenda, don't you? And you need to have a very sort of robust way of, like whether it's going to be a ballot or a show of hands for voting. And yeah, you just got to it just means you've got to be more organized, doesn't it? But then if you have a larger membership, you could have a larger committee with subcommittees to decide on projects and things like that. So it will kind of like start it off small and grow it organically. But you know, in the case of your business, you could just have it as a quick chat over Zoom, and that could be your AGM. You know, I'm just going to present the finances. I'm going to tell you what projects we've been involved in, and we're going to set the membership subs for next year. You know,
we're done. That's it. Let's go home.
That's it. Yeah. Thanks very much.
That's my kind of thing. Yeah. Not into this, like, you know, I mean, I love listening to people who have got something really interesting to say, but the vast majority, no disrespect to anybody out there, but the vast majority of people have not got particularly things interesting to say. You know, so and they don't, because that's what they find a platform at an AGM that's in a community, whatever. You know, and it comes out.
Or you get the ones who like to say things 3 times.
Yeah, and it's like, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, really? That's
it's definitely an opportunity for cultivating patience. That is.
Oh yeah. Lots of patience. I have a bad habit of tapping my fingernails whenever I get bored.
Oh, dear.
Everybody knows I'm getting bored when you hear the tapping of the fingernails. It's like, yeah, I've had enough now. You know, I actually had one of my somebody I was on a committee with here was really good, and he used to look at his watch and he'd go, "You've got 10 minutes left because I'm going home for my dinner."
Oh yeah.
That was it. You know, you only had 10 minutes.
Very tactful.
Yeah, but it works. You know, everybody stuck to the point then. You know. So, is there anybody who can shut down a PMA? You know,
shut it down. Yeah. Yes, the members. Yeah.
So it's only the members that can do that then.
Well, so it depends what you've got in your constitution. The default would be if you have an 85% majority vote of all the people present, then yes, it can be shut down. But all the, you know, the trustees can shut it down, or the committee can shut it down. And it depends on what the constitution is. The thing is, because it's not regulated, because there's no rigid set of rules, because it's in the private, it's totally up to you how you do it.
That really does give the members a sort of like, you know, let's be a little bit more creative here.
Do
we want to create? How do we want to have things?
Yeah. Well, that's one thing the system does, doesn't it? It suppresses creativity, because it stops us thinking outside of the box, because we're instantly thinking, right, okay, you know, how am I supposed to do this? What makes it allowable? Where am I, you know, what rules have I got to follow in order to get permission? But if you take it completely the other side, to the opposite side, then the world's your oyster, isn't it? You can just use any sort of creativity. You can say, right, I'm going to have an AGM on the beach, and we're just going to have coffee, and that's it. I'm not even going to talk about finances. Don't want to. Do you know what I mean? Because there's no rules. There's nobody is going to challenge. But unless the members do.
Yeah. But it's the members that are then going to make themselves, if you like, educated in some way.
Absolutely.
Open to information, you know, so they get that information coming through, and then they have to really think about it, of like, am I just following what I've been trained and taught and indoctrinated to follow, like the footsteps in the supermarkets recently, you know, you can only go this way. I was really bad at not paying attention to them. I looked at them and I went, my feet aren't that size, never mind.
I actually had a woman complain at me about that. I said, oh, don't worry, it's only a piece of tape on the floor.
I mean, if it, like, you know, we were talking about this, you know, like about campsites. If this has a tape up to show where a defined thing is, and there's a reason for it, everybody gets that. You know, a fire engine needs to be able to get in somewhere, or whatever it might be. You know, that makes sense. You know, but other things, or the vast majority of other things, really don't come into it. You know, so why are we doing it? You know, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, we've covered the vast majority of what we're looking at. If you just have the trustees, is that the minimum amount of members you need to have?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So is that like the sort of like 2 people that can do 3 jobs, and that would be it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the point we were just talking about just now, when we're saying about the members, and this PMA would have the goals, etc. It would have aims, and the people that sign up would be sort of like-minded. You'd think that you'd attract sort of like-minded fellows to kind of join into the PMA with you, so they would kind of be on the same wavelength anyway, you'd think. Whether it's on one side of a particular argument or the other. We've got conservative clubs, we've got Labour clubs, they're all private members associations, and they're all got different aims and objectives.
That was something that came to mind with me, was the Conservative and the Labour clubs, and the Liberal Democrats have clubs as well. Not as they're not right, but
we know that they all do the same bloody thing, but they're supposed to be on the
but I mean, you go down the road here at Newcastle, and all those clubs have shut down. And
oh, really?
And part of it is because the members, well, a lot of them became elderly and passed away, but the younger ones didn't become members because they didn't really see that much of a benefit, which meant the club wasn't actually doing anything for the private members. They didn't. It seems whenever the young ones are talking about it, they didn't really understand what it was. It was just a club. And when they see it that way, it's like, it's like where I come from, it's the old men's club, and not allowed sort of thing, and all that sort of stuff. It's going to be totally different. It's actually far more liberating than we've been led to believe.
Absolutely. And with places like that, the biggest benefit was the cheaper beer, wasn't
that's
it?
what everybody went for.
That's why people used to go to the Legion. But that
doesn't happen anymore, though.
And
part of that was because you used to have ex-forces who worked at the breweries or in the dray, and they could get you a barrel that was either far cheaper or free.
Oh, okay.
That's how that sort of came about. Not all of it, but a lot of it. But that's not the case anymore. They still do give, some of them still do give a discount, but every business is being pushed, to the end, the extreme sort of thing. So so we talked about what different sort of words, and that people, not just the people who want to set up PMAs, but the people who want to become part of PMAs. So what you might call the normal customers changing over to becoming PMAs or private members as well.
Yes.
Does it matter what country you're in?
No, this is a good question. So I know that the most Commonwealth countries will have some sort of PMA structure. They might call it different things, but it's called a PMA in America as well, in the US as well. So with regards to the countries, if it's all come from our system, like Australia, Canada, etc., then yes, it's very highly likely that it would be exactly the same. But other countries, I'm not so sure, because there is an element of trust, and that sort of equity part of it that comes into it. So where, for example, trusts law isn't recognized in Russia. And so I doubt very much they would have anything to do with the private in there, because I don't think they have that layer of equity and trusts law there.
I think that they do, because you think about the criminal element that's there. They have got the private clubs, so there must be a way of doing it.
Yes, they do.
I used to think of that sort of criminal element is really bad and it's terrible and how dare they, and there are parts to it I still don't agree with, but now looking at different things, I'm going, actually they had their head screwed on.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you look at Japan as well, it was the Yakuza that stopped the vaccine mandates, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to mess with those guys.
And Mexico as well, very, very low vaccine uptake there, again, because the cartels. But then I also hear that you're told not to go to those countries because they're unruly. But then I hear from people who actually live there saying, well, if you stay away from those dodgy areas, you're fine. They look after you, as long as you don't step on any toes.
Dodgy places in Scotland and in England and in Wales. I wouldn't want to go and travel through. No disrespect to people who live there, and they're normally really nice people. It's an element that's there.
Yeah.
or the
You get that anywhere, don't you?
yeah, you do. I think
Yeah.
people the world over, you get good and bad in everything, and you have to determine which is good and which is bad
Yeah.
for you, you know. And if you get caught up in the bad, get yourself out pretty quick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely.
let's say we had an uptake in PMAs being set up in Britain, in the UK.
Yes. Yes.
How could you see that working? Can you see that as being beneficial to the whole, I hate using the word, but economy? You know, how our food is transported, how it's used, you know, the things that we buy, you know, would we have as much stuff, if you like, as we've been had?
Yeah, if I was to put my rose tinted glasses on, the way I could see it working is that localism would really take off, you know, because within the PMAs, you've got these community projects going on, and it would be a case of, you know, rather than donating to these massive corporate charities, you're bringing it in to the local economy, and you've got people doing things for other people who are nearby. You know, and as you say, you can sort out food security nearby. You can find a farm shop or set up a farm shop, which is something I need to do here because apparently we only grow sheep in North Wales.
Grow sheep.
Apparently, all of the fields just grow sheep. They don't grow anything else but sheep. And but yeah, you know,
that really is. If that's the case, of think outside the box, guys. You know, you need a little bit more than just sheep. You know.
But yeah, it's just that because you've got like a charitable element to it, and even if it's just a tiny amount, and I think most people want to give back to their local community as well, don't they? Plus, it's like it's an association; it belongs to all of the members. You know, it's not like you're just taking; you're also giving back as well. So the whole ethos behind it is better, and it doesn't cost as much to run because you haven't got the whole regulation element of it. So you're not giving all this money away. So, you know, you need to think about if you've got shop premises, what the charitable rates are, because if you're setting up as a PMA, you're actually a charity, and but you don't want to be a registered charity. So, you know, think about things like that as well, because it may be that it benefits the landlord, in that he doesn't have to pay so many business rates, and or you yourself as business rates. Yeah, it's something that you really do need to look into. But yeah, I do believe that it would be an enhancement to localism, and it would encourage people, because if you've got a local shop that, you know, you donate to get food or whatever, but then that shop is also going to be funding community projects that you could have a say in, it just makes it more sort of inclusive and encompassing everything.
So taking that view, which I think that view is really good, you know, and I think that's something that a lot of people really would rather have than what we've got at the moment. Looking at that as a world view, that would then allow you to travel from, you know, what we call country. I don't have this thing about borders, you know, because no crow and no worm has ever asked for a passport, you know, it's going across. But in trust, because that's what it is we are trusting one another. You know, I go to a different country and go, okay, where are the PMAs here? You know, and I'm going to determine where I'm going to go by where the PMAs are, not necessarily what the beautiful landscape is, but where the PMAs are, because I need to be able to feed myself. I need to be able to, you know, get clean water and all that sort of thing, need somewhere to stay, you know, all that sort of stuff. So you're going to end up with people deciding, right, okay, here's the routes that we're going to take. And they'll be most well-worn routes rather than what we've got at the moment, you know, of like companies telling us where we're going to go.
Yeah, and you probably find a lot of people do that now anyway, don't they? It's like if my daughter was to go somewhere and look for an Airbnb, she would, in her decision, she would look for vegan restaurants in that area. So, you know, with awakened pages, you know, you could have a listing for PMAs and that. And it might be an opportunity to stop spending money on Amazon and giving our energy to BlackRock and what's the other?
I was just trying to think then, what's the other one? You know, they're so off my radar that I just it's BlackRock.
It'll come to me.
That's terrible. You know who they are as well. That's terrible, isn't it?
Thank God.
That's it. Well done.
Yeah. So stop giving our money to BlackRock and Vanguard, but give it to our local people, support the PMAs, and help people to employ themselves through the PMAs, as well as, you know, help the local community as well. It's just it's more honourable.
Yeah.
It's a more honourable way to share your energy.
Yeah, the other thing is being in that PMA, and I don't care what age you are in that PMA, is listen to hear people, don't listen to respond. You know, if you've got a young person who's got a cracking idea, help them. Yeah. You know, don't go, oh, it won't work, you know, we've tried it before. You just don't know, that's a different energy that's bringing that in. Yeah. You know, that living being could be absolutely fantastic at it. Could it fail? Yeah, but we've got lots of things in life that fail.
Yeah.
You know, and we recover, we move on, we take the best bits from it, and we make something even better out of it. You know, that's how it goes. Stop worrying about feeling about things, you know. So can people go somewhere to A, do some more research on PMAs, and B, help set themselves up with one?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we have like a reduced version. We've got Liberated traders are setting up a PMA, and the idea behind them is that we're like an umbrella. So we want to help to convert more businesses into the private. So we want to do that through private members associations. We also want to do it through helping them get set up to accept Bitcoin, because, you know, to ultimately be out of the public, you need to use not anything that's not fiat, you know. So it doesn't have to be just Bitcoin, you know, precious metals or whatever. There's a load of shops down in Brixton that have the Brixton pound, and they trade using that, which is fantastic. As long as it's not fiat, it's good. And so there's Liberated traders.
What you said about the precious metals, I think you're going to have the balances coming back, you know, the scales coming back in again.
Yes. Yeah.
Scales are somebody, you know, I'm going to go off biting it, you know, it's going to be like, put on the scales, it, you know? I'm going to make it digital, it has to be in the ways the scales, you know, which is maybe not such a bad thing.
No.
You know.
And also equitable arrangements, because we've also got Empower the People as well. Now they've got an all-encompassing, all bells, all whistles PMA that they set up for you, and I do that with Empower the People, with a little bit of a training course as well, and the suggested documents for administering it. And with Empower the People, that itself is a private members association. So on there, we've got all of our ethos, we've got our core values and everything. We've got all of the benefits that we give to the members, but there's also where you can submit for a project, because the donations are coming back to the members. So so you can submit for a project, and so, you know, if you wanted to build food resilience in Croydon or something like that, you know, you submit for your project. If you've got a youth initiative or something like that, you know, submit, and then we'll vote for it at the AGM. So we're practicing what we preach as well. I'm hoping to move full time into this, and, you know, just put my energy into liberating trades, liberating businesses.
It's like, okay, it's a bit about putting your money where your mouth is, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're all very good at something. They go, well, we should really have this and we should really have that, but how many people get up off their backsides and actually do it?
I know, and I think
they want it easy because they've had it so easy. It's so easy to go and get your loyalty card and get your 10th cup of coffee free or whatever, you know, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but instead just think about it. And it might only be like a decade you have to think about it, and then it starts to run itself, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it might be even shorter than that. It might only be a couple of years. Who knows? So Empower the People, have they got a website then?
Yes, so the website goes live on the 21st of March. It's empowerthepeople.earth.
Yeah. So we'll put a link in the box to that one.
Sorry?
We'll put a link in the description box below.
Oh, brilliant. Yes, thank you. Yeah. So you can set up as a free member on there, and there's lots of resources, or there's paid membership options as well. And the paid membership gives you discounts off the benefits. So there'll be things like mortgage set-offs, private trusts, or all sorts of webinars and training courses on setting up our own society, so to speak. And how to, you know, things like status correction.
Yeah.
It's all about growing your backbone. As you say, everything's been made too easy for us, and it's been too easy to just say, oh yeah, just let the government do it, let the system do it.
Yeah.
But now it's time to stop giving them the energy and taking it back for ourselves.
It is that thing. I mean, that bit about growing a backbone about things, it's frightening when you first start doing it. I mean, no matter how strong a person you are, it's still frightening, because could this happen to you? Could you go to jail? Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, I remember you saying, that's about like what, well over 12 months ago, you said, I just need to get arrested because I don't know what it feels like.
I still not managed it.
Yeah, that's you really want to go that route?
I'm getting up to mischief, but I do find I'm less afraid of the police now.
Yeah.
So I think you do get that. I do actually just view them as people in costume.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I was never frightened of the police, because I've had a good relationship with the police. And what I would like to make clear to anybody who's looking down these sort of things is, whichever institution you're looking at, whether it be governmental or whatever, whichever costume that they're wearing, which is called uniform, there are good people in there.
Yes.
As well as those who are maybe not so good. So when it comes to the police, I've had a lot of good coppers that I've worked with. They've been absolutely brilliant. I've also had ones who have been absolutely horrendous. And I wouldn't want to go near them. And they do lie, deceive, cheat, and everything else. But that's always been the case. But that's the case as soon as you walk down your own high street, wherever you live. There are people who will go out to deceive you and lie and commit fraud and all that sort of stuff, and there are people who will genuinely help you for no return.
Absolutely.
If somebody's doing something for no return, don't abuse them. Maybe there's an exchange somewhere, there's a transfer between you.
There's a balance. You've always got to keep that balance, haven't you? And I've always tried to give out good. Always try to give out good, because I want to receive good as well. And it's not until I've really started getting into natural law and actually truly believing that you do genuinely reap what you sow. You do, because I've seen people who are so tight, but they are so skint, and I think it just proves it. It really does. And then
the other side of that is they can have everything. They've got the nice car, the flashy house and everything else, which is predominantly all on HP and mortgaged up to the hilt and stuff like that. But their lives aren't full of anything. It's empty. They can't see what you're talking about. You're not going to get through to those guys. They have to find it themselves. Yeah. And I really, really do hope that they do. They do find it. But
absolutely. It's the old African saying, isn't it? Rich in money, poor in spirit.
Yeah, very much so. When I first moved to where I am, a guy met me in the high street, and he said, oh, you've just moved into the area. And I went, he says, where are you? And I told him where I was. And he said, he says, that's the posh estate. And I went, oh, okay. I didn't really see it as being particularly posh. And he says, he just turned around and he says, do you like salmon? And I said, well, yeah, I love salmon. He says, right. He says, would you, if you got a fresh salmon, would you be able to cook it? And I said, oh, yeah, no problem. He said, what number are you at? So I told him the number. And about a week and a half later, I had this salmon hanging on the door for no other reason that he loves going fishing, but his wife couldn't stand fish and he couldn't eat that much of it. So he gave it away to other people. So I did something in exchange for him, and that's how you do it, But, it might sound like a bit of an old-fashioned way of doing things, but that to me is kind of like how good we can be even better than that with each other. We really can. And if you get somebody who's not that good, then walk away from them. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. Yeah, because there's a lot of energy vampires out there as well, isn't there?
Oh yeah, massively. Yeah. I can say bless their little consorts. So, is there anything else you want to say, Trina? Have I missed anything out?
No, I think we've covered everything. I do want to say that the journey that we've been on, and you and I have been on this journey a long time together, haven't we? We stumbled upon each other accidentally, but the universe,
different routes, because you would think I would come to the medical side of things, and it wasn't. It was the financial side. But
no, it's not as scary to think outside of the box. It's not as scary to do something without asking permission. It's once you start doing it, then it's almost like you just have to jump in and see how it goes. You know, there's so many people out there who can offer help and advice, and if you manifest it, if you require it, it will come. It really will come, you know.
Don't look for a guarantee either at the moment for how things are going, because you know, you've got to try these different things, but whether it be, you know, certain systems or whatever, they're cluing up to what's going on, so they're going to find ways to stop anybody doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
well, this is it.
They're always going to be behind. That's the thing. They're the creative ones. So if you know anything about corporations, you know, an oration of corpses, they can't sing very well, but we can, and that's where our creativity lies, you know. So sing out loud, sing proud.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I enjoy the discussions that we have on different things, because we sit there and we go, yeah, but if you do this, then doesn't that come under such and such? Wouldn't that?
Yeah.
It's cool though.
Yeah, we tend to bounce off each other, don't we?
Yeah, it is good, because I learn a lot and cover a lot, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Just never even there.
It's amazing, and I'm kind of at the point now where I think, right, I'm at saturation point. I know what I need to do, and you know, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to focus on that now. I can't take any more in. Don't want to. I'm there now.
You'll have a little rest, and then the next part.
A little rest.
Yeah.
And then the next part will come in. Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't call it a break. We don't like. It's just a rest. That's all it is.
Just a rest.
And you can do something else during that time. Go look at something else. I mean, I've got books on trust law. I've got books on commerce law. I've got medical books on different things to do with frequency, or rather healing books, because they're not medical books.
Yeah.
And to do with frequency scalar, that sort of thing. So I hop between them, you know, during a day. So I'll read, you know, a paragraph or two of one, and then a paragraph, and that keeps me going rather than just plowing through a book. You know, that's just my work, you know, which is cool.
Yeah, for me, it tends to be issue-led, because it will be like, okay, right, this has happened. I know I've got a book for that. I'll go and do it, because then it kind of sinks in better.
Do you know, I've got it the other way around. Whenever I've read something or I've started to work on something, and because you know, I've got one with HMRC at the moment, and it's once I've done it or I've read about it and how to go about it, people start coming with the issue to me. You know, and it's not that anybody knows, it's just that's how it works. Yeah, it's like, how did I magnetize
like monster of flame? Yeah,
I didn't want to, but you know, but I don't mind. But it's always a case of, here's the information, go read it for yourself, do your research, come back to me, and we'll discuss it. You know, we'll have that song together, you know, so that we can then find out where we're going with that, what's the best route possible for them and for me. You know, it's got to be individual as well. Yeah, because we're all they keep trying to tie with the same brush and it doesn't work. Well, Trina, thank you very, very much for coming on today.
Thank you.
And I hope that everybody has at least gained some sort of insight into what a private members association is. If it's the thing that resonates for you, please go do your own research. You know, check out empowerthepeople.earth, and like I said, the link will be in the description box below. If you want to have any more sort of like, you know, interactions with it, just let us know in the comments box. And we'll see if we can get other people in for a little bit of a bigger discussion, you know, people who are actually running them, you know, and have been running them for a while. And we know quite a few that have. So yeah, but thank you very much, Trina. And
thank you. And if everyone like connects with Liberated traders as well, we're always knocking ideas around, and always there to help.
Do you want to put the link for Liberated Traders?
If that's okay. Yes.
Yeah, that's on Telegram. Cool. Yeah, not a problem at all. And what about empowering small businesses?
Well, the website for empoweringbusiness.info, I've changed that into liberatedtraders.world now.
Right.
And the idea behind that originally was to create a network of businesses who would continue to trade with the unvaxxed, you know, when this whole passport thing came in. But of course, that's been shelved for now, but we know the digital ID is probably still coming.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we can take that to the next level and also create a network of PMAs that are all talking to each other, all supporting each other as well, that would be even better.
Excellent. Excellent. Right, cool. So links will be in the box. Go check them out. If you've got questions, get a hold of us one way or another, you know, and we'll be able to find us one way or another. So but thank you very much, Trina. I really enjoyed this. because you know what I'm like on words. So I really enjoyed this.
We
And
managed to keep it on track as well, mostly.
yeah, I don't even know what time we're at so far, but hey, we're doing all right. So yeah, and I shall thanks. It's great what you're doing. It's great what you guys Empower the People are doing as well. You know, all the people you bring together, because you're the one that really sort of, you know, gels everybody together. So thank you very much for all that as well.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Jane. It's brilliant to have your support and your wisdom always.
Telling it. Right, guys, we'll see you later. Thanks, folks.
Take care. Bye-bye.